Hey Blazers, this episode is brought to you by Audible.com, an Amazon company. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Blaze Entertainment.
Or visit the sponsor and supporters links on our website at intotheblaze.com. With over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now let's start the show.
You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
What's going on, Blazers? We're back with another spotlight episode of Blaze Entertainment. Miss Free couldn't be with us today, so I am doing this solo. I am pleased, excited, and been really happy to get this person on our show. I've been following her on her social media and her YouTube. She is a huge activist for LGBTQ, specifically Black LGBTQ people, and has been doing the damn thing down in the down dirty South. So I am super excited and very honored to welcome Miss Hope Giselle. How are you, beautiful?
I am awesome. How are you?
I am beyond pumped right now. I have been waiting to talk to you for a long time. I have been seeing a lot of your videos, following you on YouTube, and I actually was introduced to you by a mutual friend of ours, Mr. 50 Shades of Gay.
Yes, I love him.
He's hilarious.
Yeah,
he's been on our show previously, and we're gonna actually have him on the show again. So, but he's another activist as well for just all things that we are great. So,
I love him to death.
Yes. But for those who don't know about you, Hope, can you kind of give a little explanation for them?
Yeah, so my name is Hope Giselle, but I do go by Hope Disguised via social media. It's just a branding thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been at this for about 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from Alabama State University with my master's in both journalism. Lord, master's. I'm speaking that into existence.
Yes.
With my bachelor's in theater, arts, and journalism, and I'm about to currently enroll into Howard for my master's in social work.
Okay, look at you.
Yeah, it's my goal within the next 2 years to get my nonprofit organization by the name of Allow Me going. I really just want to get that up and going, and it's just one of my brainchilds right now, as well as a book that I'm working on, a book of poetry that's kind of a stream of consciousness, not only for the LGBT community, but just Black people and Black women, especially in general. So I have a lot of different things that I dibble and dabble in, but activism is at the forefront for me right now because there are so many things going on that needs to be addressed, and I try to make sure that I address them on a regular basis.
And you do. So I have seen some stuff, and I was like, yes, like she is just telling it all the way like it is. And what I really appreciated about it, especially when you say things and you come from a place of, first of all, love, because you're trying to educate people on what's going on, and then also a place of not to be corny, but hope. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing, and I wish you nothing but continued success, and I hope to one day meet you. So really I think for me it's really important for especially in the LGBT community for young Black women and men to both cisgendered and transgendered to really kind of speak on what's going on in the world, specifically what's going on in the LGBTQ community, because I feel like for so long, yes, we've made great strides as a community to get marriage equality and do all these different things, but African American and Black culture has been kind of still within the LGBTQ community, kind of not given a huge voice. And so, and then with that, and that's a lot to do with Black culture. First of all, not accepting who we are, and then also not us rallying and doing what we need to be doing to be a voice. So, kudos to you. Kudos, Ms.
No,
Giselle.
I mean, I just do what I think is necessary. I think that we all have things that we find important. We all do what we think needs to be done depending on our levels of importance. And I just find this to be important. You know, I don't knock other people who don't think that it is, but it's just one of the things that I think is important. So like I tell all my hopefuls, which are my fans essentially, you know, I don't do this to become the next whatever. I do it just because it's what I like to do. And so when I speak on topics, it's not based off of, you know, me getting whatever, even though, you know, I do get paid to go and tell, you know, I get paid to, you know, host seminars and things like that. But it's not about that. It's more so just making sure that people have that positive image that I didn't see when I was growing up of transgender women and of LGBT people, period, you know? So, yeah.
And it's funny you said that. I love that, hopefuls. That's really cool. It's funny you said that because a couple of weeks ago, I had said something on my Twitter where I was talking about Donald Trump's dumbass, and yeah, that's another spotlight edition in and of itself.
That's a whole nother spotlight.
Whole nother show. But I had said something in regards to, I think it was the first rounds of debates, and I said something in regards to him, and some very non-intelligent person said something to me and was like, well, who gave you the authority to, you know, speak on this type of situation? And what's funny is that I don't think anybody gave me the authority to speak on it, but I have the authority to say what the hell I want to say on my goddamn social media that I pay for on my goddamn phone. Okay, so if you don't like it, feel free to click off and unfollow me, and also block me. So that's how I feel about that. But I think that everybody has a right to say how they feel about whatever they want to say. You know, I'm not excluding hate groups or anything like that. You can say whatever you want to say. I don't have to follow it or look at it. That's, you know, a First Amendment right, freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? So, but I also think that it's important that we as a people understand our rights, number one, and are given those rights freely, and in terms of don't give it to one community and say, oh well, they're the upper echelon of what's going on in this state or in this country, so they can do, because they're the 1%, so they can get all that. And I just don't agree with that. And I think it's high time. And in my generation, when I was younger, and I think we're similar in age. I don't know. I'm not going to ask the lady their age, but when I was growing up, you know, especially, you know, being in an all Black, like I was the lightest person in my school, in my elementary school, and you had like maybe 2 or 3 Hispanics, and so who were also darker than me. So, you know, so. Gay culture there was no gay culture that I saw, you know, that I could look up to and until I got to high school, you know, and with that being said, like it's not as open and rampant as it is now, and it's not as expressed and well accepted as it is now. So a lot of people, you know, are saying, you know, a lot of millennials are coming out and saying, oh well, you know, it's so hard and stuff. It's like, child, you don't understand.
At all.
We didn't have like 4 or 5 different clubs. You know, we had one secret location. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but I think that's good. I think that's important. So, but in addition to that, I think it's also important with this particular generation. It's really nice to see them educating themselves a little more on their rights and what's going on in terms of their culture and history, real history. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you talk, girl.
I think that's the most important thing too, is like today, what I find is that a lot of the issue is that people don't understand and know that they're capable and they have the right to do certain things. And so therefore a lot of stuff goes unchecked and a lot of things kind of slip through the cracks as it pertains to LGBT people, especially LGBT people of color. And it's because we spend so much time on social media thinking that, oh, if I go off and I make this video and that video goes viral, then I've done my part. And it's like, no, you have the right to request meetings with your Senate. You have the right to, find your candidates and go and talk to these people or send letters to these people, flood their inboxes. You have the right to lobby and gather a group of people to do so. And I think that a lot of the time we're so focused on the mainstream issues that we forget that there are small battles within our personal state that we have the right to stand up and say, hey, don't sign this bill. This bill affects a large majority of the people in your community. If you sign off on this, then we will not support you, And I think that once the LGBT community realizes that not only do we have rights, but we have a voice, it'll be so much easier for us because once we get into that political field and stop thinking that a good read is going to change everything, then we'll truly be able to make some ground. But we can't, expect the read just to be enough. They see our videos and they understand the videos and they look at the comments and they laugh and they continue to say, well, that video was nice, but it's still just one person. But what happens when you and 50 of your friends from the club get together and go stand out there and lobby and put the facts together? So, yeah, I think that...
and the same amount of people that can go into a club and make a club packed house, it's just the same amount of people that can also go to a legislation and do something about something that they're angry about or something that they're upset about to make a change. And it just takes that amount of people. They think that it's thousands and million man marches that need to happen, but it's because of those little those groups of people that came together and started organizations and started learning about legislation and politics and stuff like that. That's what got them to get these laws passed. You think they just came out of fucking nowhere? You know what I mean?
You're right.
So but yeah, I appreciate you continuously letting people know that, because I think especially sometimes people are hard-headed, girl. You gotta tell them multiple times.
I mean, but that's life.
Yeah, right. So let me go ahead and get to a question that Miss Free wanted me to ask you. So she goes, one second. Okay, here we go. When watching your video, Be Honest, Black People, there were some points in your video which I agreed with and others I disagreed with. In my opinion, there was a lot of, quote, pull up your bootstraps, quote, rhetoric in the video. While I agree that there is some work we need to do as a community, would you also agree that in addition to laws, discrimination, and hundreds of years of oppression that has prevented Black people from progressing? And could you please clarify the video if there were any misconceptions?
So, and I'm so sorry, but I make so many videos on so many topics that are similar that I actually have to go really quickly and just because I'll remember exactly what I was talking about if I see the picture. So I'm gonna go really quickly.
Yeah, and this is the Be Honest Black People.
Be honest, video. Let's be honest. I think that was the Let's Be Honest Black People. I think I was in my car because I was feeling my beats that day. And
she was playing Formation Girl, and she was like, "No, I have to say something."
Yeah, I think you know how that goes. Yeah, so that okay. But basically, my thing is, and my plight with my own people is this, okay? And a lot of people don't agree with me on this topic. A lot of people do not agree with me. I have a select few people that are just like, I hope I get you and I understand where you're coming from. But so many people are just like, no, I'm not buying that logic. But and that's okay, because I'm not here to force my agenda.
Well, for those who haven't seen the video, can you explain a little bit a synopsis of what you meant?
So the synopsis is basically this. I want Black people to hold ourselves accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what I mean by that, I made that video when there were a lot of like back to back, the Alton Sterling, just like so many things happening at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many different views going on about this guy and that guy, or this person and that person. And I have this theory, about how we as Black people sometimes, outside of the drama that's going on that we see like in 2016, outside of, just the mainstream media, I want to talk about what happens in our communities and the things that we allow, and the things that when mainstream media puts them out there, we pretend like, oh, well, this doesn't happen, or this doesn't matter because this happened. And so that video was more so of first of all, I think that we as Black people should realize that we are afforded opportunity. They may not be the same opportunities as people who are white, or people who can pass for white, but we are afforded opportunities. And I think that in our communities, we're being broken down early. We're being told early. Infants are being told like, oh my God, as a Black person, this is going to happen. And so blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that's a downgrade before you even get a chance to feel good about yourself and to feel good about your culture. People are telling you, well, because of your culture, you can't. And because of your culture, you won't. And because of your culture, you have to. And so, I just wanted to I think that video, the main premise is making ourselves accountable for some of the negative feedback and the negative thought and the negative instances that happen in our community. And understanding that if we want to grow, we can do so, but we have to equip our new generations with the tools and the abilities that we weren't equipped with, which is that self-righteousness, which is that stuff that got us out of slavery and to begin with. I think that, just right on the cusp of like the end of it, I was a part of that last generation where our grandparents and our parents told us, you can be the next president, you can be so and so. And now you have parents telling their children like, make sure you don't, because if you do, this is, and it's just kind of like you get all of these warning signs these days versus inspiration these days to push past those warning signs and excel, not because you're Black, but excel because you can, because no matter how many times people try to take away, the validity of something that you've done, or the valor of something that you've done, you can always push past that and through that, despite your skin color. And I remember growing up, and that's what I was taught. My grandmother and my grandfather and my mom never made being Black an issue. And I'm not saying that, it was because it was a different time and it wasn't as racially charged as it is now, but being Black was one of the last things that was on their mind. More so than anything, it was about growing up and not being ignorant or not being dumb, and understanding that my education was the key to everything that I wanted to unlock. As long as I was educated, and as long as I knew my rights, and as long as I knew my books, and as long as I understood the way of the world, there was nothing that I couldn't have. And I find it that when you're Black and you have that mentality, 9 times out of 10, you're not one of those people that's blaming, the white supremacy for your issues. Because there are some people that truly just want to blame white people for every single thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist, but I am saying that sometimes that's not what it was about, and we have to be cognizant of that. We have to be cognizant that everybody isn't racist, and that every situation that does pop up that includes somebody of a different race doesn't have to mean that it happened to you because you just so happen to be Black. Sometimes we're not qualified. Sometimes you went in with the wrong attitude. Sometimes, you just weren't what they were looking for. And that should be okay. But I also think that pulling the race card every single time we don't feel like we've been done a due diligence after we felt like we gave our best isn't, I think that that's a hindrance. And that was one of my things that I spoke about in that video. It's just like, let's be honest, Black people, sometimes it has nothing to do with you being Black. It just has everything to do with you lacking something that was an essential skill, or whatever the case may have been, for whatever that problem was.
I see what you're saying on that. That makes sense. I think with that explanation, because I was kind of looking, I was like, okay, I kind of see what other people were saying in terms of why they disagreed, but I also get, and I think it's because the generational gaps that where that's coming from. And for me, when I was growing up, like you said, education was key. Like, you make sure you do. And then on top of that, as I was growing up, and me understanding who I was as a gay man, I not only had to to make sure that education was focused, but I had to do better because I was a Black gay man. And so I think that there were, there's already a systemic, barriers that are already placed in front of me because of the color of my skin, and because I'm categorized as an African American, regardless of how light I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still going to be looked at as a Black man, and so that's already a barrier. And then on top of that, you a gay Black man? Oh no, you know what I'm saying? So that's another barrier. So I had to always do the best that I can do and be the best, and I do understand what you're saying. Like, not every single situation. And I think this goes to people who are uneducated when it comes to certain things. Like there was a friend of mine who was growing up. We both applied for the same job, and I got it over her, and she thought it was because I was light skinned. And I'm like, girl, I actually worked in this type of field for 2 years, and you walked in there with neon green ass weave, and the shortest skirt that I've ever seen in my damn life. And you looked like you were going to a club instead of a job interview. So why you think that it was because I'm light skinned? What? Like, I didn't understand where that was coming from.
But that's because of this new generational outlook that tells people, okay, so when you fail as a Black person these days, just say it's because you Black and you'll get and it's just like, what? Like that, that doesn't work. It's the same thing for me being a trans woman. I can't say like, oh, if I walk in and I didn't get the job, it's because I'm trans. Because 9 times out of 10, people don't even know. And so like, I can't pull that card. Like people are like, what? I didn't even know you were. No, bitch, it was because you were underqualified. Like, so it was. I think that just this dynamic of creating all these self-righteous woke, and I say that with heavy quotation marks around my face, woke Black people. It does us. It really does us more harm than it does like justice in the long run, because then you end up having these people that feel like they can do nothing, want nothing for themselves, and get away with it because they're Black. And they can always say, well, because I'm Black, this happened to me, and that's unfair. And there will always be a group of like minions behind them to say, you know what, sister or brother, you are so right, because they always holding us back and they're always holding us down. But like you said, I've seen plenty of people going for jobs with neon green hair, completely underdressed, contacts that are
and not even that good yaki weave. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like you ain't got no cankalons or nothing, girl. Like, you just didn't even comb nothing.
It's bad green.
No sheer, oil sheen.
Nothing. Like nothing. Like
your
Lord,
makeup is still on from last night when you were at the club when you should have been in bed studying for the next job.
And you didn't touch it up. And it's just, so I think that's where my, let's be honest, about this Black people thing comes in. And every time I talk about those topics, it's also because of the systemic idea about Black men. And when I bring this up, I always ruffle feathers because whatever. But that's what I do. That's my personality. And I brought up the idea, and my theory is that I'm not saying that anybody deserved to die. I'm not saying that anybody deserves to die. However, I know Black men. I know Black men because I used to be a Black man, and I know Black men because I have to deal with Black men on a regular basis. And my theory behind, a lot of the stuff that goes on is people put themselves in situations, people put themselves in places, and people do things, and then pretend as though they don't happen. We know Black boys. And my theory on the Trayvon Martin thing was, you're not going to tell me that Trayvon was just so nice to Zimmerman. You're not going to tell me that he was just like, oh, sir, I'm going home. I'm just going to go home. Like, could you please stop following me? No, that white man pulled up and Trey was like, what the fuck you want? And he saw that he was a fat guy that looked like he wasn't going to do nothing. And Trey sold out and probably cussed the man out from here to there. Then on top of that, he was on the phone with his girlfriend. So, Black guys, they got to do the most. She's probably on the phone with her hood red ass, talking shit on the other end. And nobody thought that it was going to escalate to what it escalated. but like, let's not pretend like he was just the golden boy and the golden child in the situation.
And that's all fine. And I'm so glad because, you know, me and you are just we're going to agree to disagree on that. And I'm still going to love you, sis. But I'm going to tell you right now, like where and I think I saw this, you talked about this on Dear Gay People. And that was literally probably, besides everything else, that portion when you talk about Trayvon and some of the other incidents that happened with, you know, black men and police shootings, that was the only part that out of all your videos that I've had a concern with, because I looked at it and I've been doing research on police shootings since Amadou Diallo. I've had to do, you know, and a lot of my reports, you know, obviously got F's because it was too controversial in school and that shouldn't be talked about. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is that I understand that, you know, there's cultural differences in terms of how we react to things. And I'm not saying that everybody's innocent. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, you know, every single black man that was shot, you know, didn't talk back, didn't, you know, like look at Sandra Bland. You know, she was, even though she was very, you know, within her right to say what she needed to say, she was very stern with the officer. And that's all fine and dandy, because I personally feel that just because you are a police officer does not mean that you pay my checks, that you're exempt from being cussed the fuck out, as long as I'm not making any threatening movements to you. Because I've seen plenty of white men who and cases with white men and white boys and girls who have literally they show their whole white ass and they just, you know, throwing shit at the cops. They have machetes in their hands. They are walking across the street in oncoming traffic because they're intoxicated, and they still have taken them down in a manner where they're still alive to talk about it today. So I understand, you know, in terms of how, you know, African Americans can sometimes be, you know, show their whole black ass, because we're not all perfect. You know what I'm saying? I show my black ass at times too, because sometimes people need to see it and he needs to hear what I have to say. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, and that's culturally different from other people. We just tend to be, you know, a lot more aggressive when it comes to letting people know what the fuck's going on, because we're tired. You know, but at the same time, that does not give a police officer, you know, black or white police officer, it doesn't matter, a police officer to go ahead and shoot, you know, as their first resort, when you have, and I've been in the military, you know, and I was in the Army, so I understand how operating procedures go and standard operating procedures go in a wartime environment where you know that there's people that are trying to kill you. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's not like you're pulling over a civilian and, you know, you're within your home country. You're in another, you know, territory where there are known terrorists that want to see you dead because they feel like you're invading their space. You know what I'm saying? So there's even more of a heightened fear there. There's even more of a, but even with that fear, even with that heightened alert feeling, there are still standard operating procedures that need to be followed. And I don't understand how police officers within your home state, within your home country, you're feeling that threatened by somebody to the point where you feel like that's your first option is to go ahead and shoot, when there's motherfuckers out there with machetes, you know, throwing shit, you know, at you and telling you specifically, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? No. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. And I think that a lot of my bias, and I am going to call it what it is. I'm not too grown to admit that this is a controversial thing, and I have so much to learn on it. And I'm not going to say that my opinion is my you know, this is my straight opinion. I'm stuck on this. You know, it's just, this is my opinion as of now, because this is what I know and this is how I feel as of now. But even in those retrospects, I also take I'm not taking the side of the officer, but I am taking the side of the fact that, because I know how black men make me feel. You know what I'm saying? I know how some of black men make me feel, and I know the truth behind a lot of the stuff that goes on in my community. 9 times out of 10, a black man say he gonna shoot your motherfucking ass, you getting shot. Some, you know, and you know, white people make threats, and they say, "Oh, mom and dad, I'll kill you, fuck you guys." But half the time, that shit ain't real. It takes a special type of white person to really run through that. But you run up on the right thug on the right day, You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you, and he threatened like that. That's just for like and like I was saying in one of my videos, it's hard to walk down one side of the street and be afraid of the cops, but then it's also hard when on the other side of the street you got the thugs, and you got to be in the middle of between both of them and be like, bitch, I don't want to make the wrong move on nobody's
Right.
side. And so it's kind of like I put myself in both people's shoes. I understand that just because I look a certain way, because as a transgender woman, I know how it is when people look at you and they see that you're trans, and it doesn't matter how many suits I wear, it doesn't matter how many degrees I have, they automatically assume that I'm a prostitute on the low. So I know, how that is for some black guys who just like, this is my comfort wear. Fuck that shit. Like, I'm not trying to be a thug. This is just how I look. This is what I like to do.
Right.
But I also understand for certain police officers who are white, my thing is a lot of people make the argument that, oh, if you're not willing to deal with this environment, then don't come work out here. But as somebody who is trying to be an advocate, if all I do is advocate towards bitches that look like me, and if the only girls that I want to talk to are girls that look like me with degrees, I'm not a real advocate. I have to go out there and talk to the girls that are struggling on a different level than me so that I can understand their story to help them later on. And my thing is, I think that's the same logic with police. If all they do is work in the suburbs, how can they truly say that they came to protect and serve? But that does not mean that they're not people, and the idea of fear isn't real. And it's not to just say, oh my God, I'm so afraid of black men. But my thing is, there is a stereotype of black men, and there is a demographic of black men that you should be afraid of. And just like there's a demographic of white people that we kind of shy away from. If a nigga looking real crazy and he got on his hoodie and his nails are painted black and he looked like he ain't ate in a couple of days, black people even stay away. Like, little Johnny look like he might stab a couple of people in this movie theater, so I'm gonna stay over here.
But that I feel like that's with every culture. You know what I'm saying? And I totally hear you. And I think to add on to what you're saying in regards to the having police officers stay within their communities, I don't think that they should just stay within their communities. However, I do think, and this is something that, why I really respected a lot of your videos, because you do say to get involved and to go in. We do need more African American, people in the police force and people of color, in the police force, and people within the communities that know, like, look, this is not how we should be doing things. So then go and change it. Go inside of your legislation, your state, government. Go inside of your police departments and join the police academies and learn. So that way, when you go into your own communities and you're able to assist people who are not from that community, you can educate them on how these people or how people are. You know what I'm saying? How which ones to really watch out for and which ones not. You know what I'm saying? Because if I go and take, it's like when you go, for me personally, like I'm originally born and raised in New York. So like, if I go back to visit and I bring one of my friends from, over here, they don't know where to go, especially if they've never been there. So of course, I'm not going to tell them, oh yeah, you want to go down to, to Harlem in this area. No, especially if it's Becky Sue. I'm not going to have Becky Sue go down to fucking Harlem by her damn self. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to stay over here, on Times Square, like, go to, stay 4th Avenue. You stay over here. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be over here. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, let's say if you want real pizza, girl, you got to go down, by my old house, around the corner, girl. You know what I'm saying? So of course, you should have people who are from those communities and from any community, actually, educate people who are coming into or who are visiting at, quote unquote, those communities to police it and educate them on it. And if you don't, at a minimum, in terms of reform, if you don't hire police officers, if you don't train police officers who are from those communities, or train police cadets rather, who are from those communities, then get people, representatives from each of those communities, so that way they can still educate them on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that can be done, that I feel that can prevent a lot of it, and I do understand that it does take both sides, and I do get that, it's not just, African Americans that are innocent and anything. I'm not saying that at all. But at the same time, especially the lack and disregard for Black women. Like, let's not even fucking go there. Let's not
That
even,
part.
let me not even get started because we'll be here for another goddamn hour, girl. You know what I'm saying? So, but like at and like you were saying, yourself, like you would walk down the street and you would feel uncomfortable because you already understand how a lot of black men, tend to approach you and also look at you and also speak to you. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have such a disregard for our own women. You know what I'm saying? Transgender and cisgender alike. There's the and I was talking to Miss Free a couple of months ago, in our I think it was our first or second episode of Blaze Entertainment, and I think it was it wasn't We Matter, it was our Pride episode, and we had just heard about what was going on in Orlando. We were talking about how having transgendered women already, especially black transgendered women, already having to deal with the stigma of being black, but also now being a black woman, which is the most endangered, and most endangered, cultured demographic out there. You know what I'm saying? They're so disrespected. They're so underappreciated, and there's so many things stacked against them, and they're constantly having to deal with microaggression, whether they go home, whether they go outside. The minute they walk outside, there's microaggression. So being a black transgendered woman is even worse. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Right.
it's even there's even worse pressure for them. There's even worse fear that they have to deal with on an everyday basis. So you expect them to be this hunky-dory, happy-go-lucky person, but they have so much bullshit that they have to deal with on a regular basis. And what is our community as a black community, culture and community doing to protect them? That's where we need to get to as a culture, and it can't just be black men that we're looking after. We have to look at our African American women and black women and women of color. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's being so not looked at, for lack of a better expression.
Right.
So
as it pertains to the way that people treat, especially black transgender women, it's all become really ridiculous. I think that there's a long way to go within that fight. I was actually going to host my Late Nights with Hope tonight around that topic, simply because I had a guy approach me on Facebook. And my thing is, I don't understand how you're on my Facebook and you don't know that I'm trans, but whatever.
Right.
So
I mean, girl.
He approached me in my Facebook inbox, and my thing is, if you know me as a friend, or if you know me personally, the way that I address men who hop in my inbox, no matter what they say, like they can say, "Good morning, how you doing?" My first instinct and my first response is, "I'm trans." And so before I even answer your question, before I say good morning back, before I say hi or anything, I say I'm trans. And this guy simply responded, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot you." And then he blocked me. And it's just like, as a black trans woman, like, how do you take that and not, like, it's like, how do I take that and not feel biased about the community? And how, as a black transgender woman, am I supposed to feel accepted by a community where, even in a space full of women, I have been told I'm not allowed to say that I'm a black woman. I'm not allowed to try to share in the plights that black women go through, because biologically I'm not a black woman and I haven't experienced those plights, my entire life. I just jumped into this and I was, lucky enough to not look like the rest of, some of the girls who aren't as blessed. But it's just like, how as black people do you expect me to be black, love being black, and fight for the rights of black people when it's hard for me to even be in black spaces and not feel like a leper most of the time? So I do think that there's a lot of work that the black community needs to do, both men and women, cisgender, but even bisexual, and even sometimes in the gay community, transgender women aren't accepted or respected. So I think that there's just a lot of work, and I think as the research comes out and as more documentaries are made and as more trans women speak up and speak out, and as more organizations like the one that I'm about to start pop into fruition, there'll definitely be I guess, an awakening of sorts. That'll happen, I think. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for all of the work that you constantly do and the bravery that you put yourself just in stepping outside your damn door, girl. Because, you know, I think like for me, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, you know, I don't know if I want to go to work today. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, I don't know if I want to do this, but like,
It'd be like that.
You have to constantly, like, you know, and just to go back, you know, and obviously I will never understand, in terms of, you know, putting myself in the position of a Black trans woman and understand that struggle. I do understand, you know, the being within a community and still feeling like you're not in the community, because it's really frustrating. And I think 50 Shades of Gay had said something about it when everything started popping off, you know, with, you know, Black Lives Matter. And he was talking like, you know, just because we're not a part of the heterosexual normative, you know what I mean, does not mean that we are any less important. And I think that video hit me hard. And then that's when I told him, I was like, girl, you better preach. And he's like, oh, you need to see Hope Giselle, girl. And then I was like, yes, she is speaking all the truth, girl. And I think that it was really important for me to see that, because I felt for so long, you know, felt alone, because it was not just, yes, I was, you know, in the gay community and I was, you know, a gay, you know, Black man, but I was always looked at as just a gay guy. You know what I'm saying? I was never, you know, nobody really understood that I was a gay Black man. And I think that, you know, it's important for community, especially the Black culture, to really understand that we are here, you know what I'm saying? And we've been supporting you since day one, and we've been trying to, you know, protect, you know, us from and fighting the good fight with you, you know, along the way, and trying to protect us from doing, you know, from being killed. And I think that it's unfortunate that when we ask for, you know, for support, we're not getting that back, you know, and that doesn't, and you know, there's some growth that needs to happen, clearly. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop supporting, you know, Black culture, but it is discouraging and it is hard, you know what I'm saying? And so I respect, you know, LGBTQ people of color who constantly every day, you know, say, you know what, even though you motherfuckers don't respect me, I'm going to be here for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know.
But see, and even that gets so hard that I think that's the part that the heterosexual Black community just doesn't understand, is that's the part that gets hard. When on one video you're going in because you're just like, I can't believe that they did this to my Black people, but on another video the comments are all talking about how these faggots need to die and how they're ruining Black culture, and you know, and so it's just kind of like, you know, we stand with you guys no matter what. But when it's time to be accepting and uplifting of your own people, the first thing you do is like flip the script, like, no, like, because you guys make Black men look bad, and you guys are killing the community, and yeah, like, and my whole plight with Black people is that the entire issue is with Black men and trans women, but there are no issues with Black lesbianism. And studs, and you know, the different plethoras of lesbianism, but there are so many issues as it pertains to Black gays and Black trans women. You know, so I that to me is another concept that I'm gonna be attacking. You know, in the near future. You know me, I'll find a way to filter it into one of these videos.
Yes.
But yeah, that, you know, I think that there's a lot of stuff that as a Black community, we as LGBT folk have to bring to the light. But there's going to also be some things that we have to kind of go at full force and let them know, like, we're no longer going to tolerate this. And, you know, if you want our continued support, then you're going to have to remember that we're Black too.
Right.
It's sad that we are eventually, I feel like, going to have to say that, but I think that's what it's going to come to for us to be able to truly get equality within our own community.
Say it, girl. Say it.
Yeah.
Well, Hope, I really would love to have you on the show again because you speak so much knowledge, and you're one of the few that just keeps going and going. And I really appreciate all the hard work you're doing, and know that you have some support over here in California, girl. So,
well, thank you.
Yes. But for those who may not know, where can we find you? And of course, we're gonna put all of the information up when this show airs or this episode airs. But go ahead and shout out your social medias, your website.
So I am Hope disguised everywhere. Literally, I am Hope disguised everywhere, even on Facebook. I'm Hope Giselle on Facebook because they make you use your real name now.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still pull it up by Hope Disguised, and that's Hope Disguised with no spaces in it. And it's not spelled weird. It's Hope and Disguise, like the word.
Like
not
you actually spell it right.
Right, like I spell them right. Like it's not Hope Disguised with a Z or anything like that. So it's Hope Disguised everywhere. I'm on every single social media that you could possibly think of. I have one, but I'm most active on my Instagram and my Facebook and my YouTube account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like all of that stuff.
Do you have Twitter?
Yeah, I do have a Twitter, but I'm not a tweet. I don't tweet, you guys. Like, I don't tweet. Like, I don't tweet. I mean, there are tweets that go there, but if you are on my Facebook, then it's the same stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like an avid tweeter. I just haven't gotten into the idea of the tweet because I'm long-winded and I like to have more than 120 characters.
Right.
So I can't do the tweet.
It took me a while to get used to it, girl. I was like, I'm just going to get on Facebook.
Because I feel like tweeting is for witty people, and I'm witty. I'm witty, like, in person. Like, I'm very, like, snide and snappy and witty in person and, like, through conversation. But, like, if I have to sit there and think about it, like, it takes me forever. It takes me forever.
I'm going to fit this whole ass paragraph into a sentence.
Yeah, like, how do I... And then, like, it's written all ghetto by the time I'm done. Right. I be trying to, like, keep the context, but make the words small. So I can't. So, but there is a Twitter, you guys. But I am most active on my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube account, and all of those things are at Hope Disguised. So I would love for you guys to follow and like and subscribe and comment and don't, be afraid to comment even if you do disagree. I'm more open to people who disagree respectfully than to people who kind of just hop in my inbox with some bullshit.
Right. And I think and I'm glad you said that because like even just now, like when we were talking, like I didn't agree with one of the things that you said, but we talked about it. And I think that that's important for you Twitter fingers out there that don't know what the fuck you doing, right. Or what you're talking about. Like, have a conversation. It's okay to have conversations. We're all not going to agree on the same thing, but we can have a conversation and discuss it and talk about it and see where it leads, So,
right.
Keep it classy, motherfuckers.
Oh, at all times. Please.
And then question, do you have a website or anything?
So I do have hopedisguise.com, you guys, but because I'm cooking up some stuff in the gym. I took it down, and she won't be functional until January 1st.
Okay, so right on. Got some surprises.
It is hopedisguise.com, but I took her down because I'm doing some revamping because, as I said, I'm doing a lot of stuff with my nonprofit and I'm trying to incorporate things. And so when I come back full throttle with that, I want it to be an incorporation of everything that I do so that because I do so much and there are so many different facets of me that people want. And so I'm trying to create my website so that everybody can just go on there and it's a one-stop hub to all of my social stuff. And then for everybody who follows me for different reasons, because I do have people that follow me for my makeup and my hair. And then I have people that follow me for my speeches and the things that I say. Then I have some people that follow me just based off of, wanting to know about my life. And so I'm trying to put all of those things together. And then on top of that, have a space for people to understand and get with my movement and donate. So like, the site I just had to break it down and it'll be back up.
Yes,
anyway.
I'm excited. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us. And I hope that you will be able to do it again because it was a pleasure talking with you. And hopefully we'll have Miss Free on next time.
Yes.
So, yes.
I'm so mad I missed her. But no, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you for being on the show. And we'll have you back.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.